We are officially playing the waiting game with Cam Christie, but the Gophers have some hope, and we're diving into it all today here at Locked On Golden Gophers.
Hey,
You are Locked On Golden Gophers.
No matter what we're going to do here, we're just going to keep rowing.
Your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden
However it
Gophers.
turns out, we're just going to keep rowing.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're just going to keep rowing, and keep rowing.
What up? What up? You are listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And today we are diving into some Gophers hoops because there was some big news over the weekend and we're still playing the waiting game. So we got some good news. Parker Fox coming back. Cam Christie still TBD with some possible hints that he could be going to the NBA. He's going to test the waters, but we'll dive into what that means on today's show. On top of that, we're going to talk about two transfer visits happening for the Gophers over this past weekend and on Monday. Hopefully the Gophers can land one or both of those players, but I still have questions when it comes beyond those players, even if they are added. And then finally, we're going to talk about the Gophers women's basketball team. They have an added transfer. They have a person visiting, but they also lost two to the transfer portal. We're diving in on all things Gophers hoops coming up today. So be sure to smash that subscribe button over on YouTube. Make sure you're tapped in for your daily Gophers content. This is Kane Rob, and we got you covered every single day of the week. And so what we want to do here as we get into this offseason is we're going to cover more recruit talk. We're going to break down the entire roster as we get closer to the football season. We're going to talk about these transfer portal options, including what could happen with the football team if more players hit the portal, or what they could be looking for as that second portal window opens up this week. So hopefully we'll have a lot more to talk about this week. And on top of all that, tomorrow I will be attending one more final spring practice for the Golden Gophers and give you another breakdown. I know a lot of people were happy with the last breakdown we did this weekend, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of that going forward. Now let's jump in. We're talking about the newest names coming back for the Minnesota Gophers basketball team, including Parker Fox, who stamped it. He had Gophers fans a little bit worried with the video he made, but I loved it. I loved it was just very Parker Fox. You could feel the energy, you could feel the presence, you could feel the goofiness of it all. But glad to say Parker Fox is running it back one more year with the Golden Gophers in a place that made his dreams come true, in a place where he's always dreamed of playing at this level of basketball. And you know what? He's shown the athleticism that he was touted from coming over from D2, being an All-American on that level. He has shown valuable spark for this Gophers team as they continue to push forward and try and get this program back on track. Now, when you look at the box score, you might be like, oh, well, 5.1 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 0.7 assists per game. Yeah, I do like the 68.3% field goal percentage, but outside of that, the numbers don't pop off the page. But if you watched the games, if you watch the film, if you look at what goes beyond the box score, Parker Fox is a heart and soul player. He's one of those grit, grimy, do-it-all mentality players that you need on a championship level team in order to give life to your team in the low moments, on the road, in the tough games. He is that player who sparks the runs because of his diving on the floor, because of his nasty blocks, because of a putback jam. You watch Parker Fox play and you know that that is a player you love to have on your team and that can spark winning. So overall, Parker Fox, very happy to have him back. Now, looking at his final 6 games of the season last year, he scored in double digits in 4 out of those 6 games. His minutes ticked up throughout the entire Big Ten conference games, and he had 7 blocks in his final 6 games last season. That is huge defensively because those blocks, they can spur runs, they can spur quick changes, and that is what Parker Fox brings to this team, and it's why they got a little bit of success in that postseason run in the NIT. Now, his skill set, like I said, goes beyond the box score. I want you to think of the players that in the NBA, they're just grimy, they do it all, they're gritty, but they help winning. They help spark championship mentalities. They help spark long-term playoff runs. Marcus Smart on the Celtics before he got traded. Pat Beverly with the Timberwolves, but you're seeing it even now. You've seen it with the Clippers. You're seeing it now with the Bucks. Pat Beverly is one of those type of players. Dylan Brooks, you might hate him. You might hate the antics. Some people don't like that. Sometimes he can swing for the no-nos, but outside of that, he's a player that when he's on your team, you know he's a grit guy. You know he's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to be scrappy. He's going to dive on the floor. He's going to get in an opposing player, an opposing star's head, and do everything he can to affect winning. PJ Tucker is a player like that. Christian Braun, Grant Williams, Derek White. These are players that might not always load up 20-point scoring efforts, 15-point scoring efforts. They might only get 2 rebounds, but it's the diving on the floor. It's the blocks. It's the turn of momentum type players. And that is what Parker Fox brings to this Gophers team. So I'm very stoked to have him back. Now the Gophers got other news as well with Cam Christie. He is still a to be determined. We're still waiting on what could happen with Cam Christie for the Gophers. Now he did make a little bit of a move over the weekend saying he is entering his name into the NBA draft for consideration. Now, that does not mean he is automatically going to the NBA draft. He is testing the waters while keeping his college eligibility, which means he can still pull out of the draft up until the deadline and come back to college and finish out another year or however long he would want to. Now, Cam Christie, I think, could go either way. I think it could go depending on what feedback he receives from the NBA in this pre-draft process. If he goes to the NBA draft combine, if he works out with teams and they're all like, whoa, this kid has way more than what we thought, what we didn't know in a draft class that is seen as weaker, he could find his name rising into the second round, early second round, maybe sneak into the first. I don't think that's going to happen, but he is a type of player that could really intrigue NBA teams. And right now, he has until June 16th to remove his name from NBA draft consideration and come back to college. So that is a long time. That is 2 months that Gophers fans are going to be kind of holding their breath and seeing what happens with Cam Christie, but it does not mean he is necessarily done. Now, Jonathan Wasserman, who is a big name in the NBA draft analysts out there, he mentioned that Cam Christie has fans across the NBA, and that does not surprise me. Across the NBA orgs, there are teams and scouts that really like his game and see the upside with it. And he's also a player that many need to see more to buy in. So this is an opportunity where he could inspire that buy-in, or he could get the feedback of, look, kid, we really like you. We think you have the upside, but I want to see you go back to school and do this. I want to see you go back to school and prove this. I want to see you take on a bigger leadership role. I want to see you spark more shot creation on your own. I want to see this, that, and the third. And the thing is that feedback he gets from the draft, he can bring that back to Coach Ben Johnson and be like, look, this is what they told me. And if you want me to remain here, this is what I need you to help me do. And I know Ben Johnson will be like, all right, let's do it then. Run it back. Let's get it. And we're going to make sure that happens so we can boost your draft stock. Now, on top of that, you think about in a world of NIL and with this Gophers fan base that all wants Cam Christie back, hopefully, if he's like, yo, I want to run it back, I'm coming back to school, the NIL dollars can follow and we can get more of the drink for Darius. We can get the cash in for Cam or something like that going and help get him here and also thriving with the Gophers long term. And then he can hopefully be the Minnesota Gophers' next first-round draft pick in 2025. Now, if he does choose to stay in the draft and he finds a way to get drafted, Minnesota fans should still obviously support him. Now, obviously, you want him back, but if he stays in the draft, it would likely be because he has a huge inkling that he will be selected. And if so, Gophers fans should support him and be happy because NBA picks for the Gophers since the year 2000, we had Joey Prisbilla selected first round, pick 9. 2003, Rick Rickert was second round pick, 55th selection. 2004, Chris Humphreys, first round pick 14. Royce White in 2012 was a first round pick 16, but he was really with Iowa State, so don't know if we can really count that one. 2013, Colton Iverson, second round pick 53. In 2020, Daniel Aturu, second round pick 33. So since the year 2000, we have had 6 players get drafted. If Cam Christie finds a way to get drafted, whether it be the first round, the second round, or what have you, that would be a big win for the Gophers, regardless of his second round, regardless if you want him to play here more. Getting another Gopher to the NBA only helps show you can get it done here in this program. So regardless, I am excited for Cam Christie. I'm excited by what he can do. I hope he comes back. I hope he boosts the draft stock. I hope he's the next Gophers first round pick since really Chris Humphreys in 2004, but we'll see what happens there. Now, of all those picks that I said, the most productive since 2005 has actually been undrafted free agent Amir Coffey. So even if he doesn't get drafted, but he stays in the process, he could find a way onto an NBA team and one day be playing in the big leagues. But regardless, Cam could truly break the mold. Though I would love to see him impress the draft process, return and play his way into the mid to late first round pick conversation in 2025. Now, he led the team in 3-point percentage, shot 40% from deep. He can pass the ball, he can defend, and he was second on the team in scoring, an all freshman team in the Big Ten Conference, and his mid range pull up is smooth. His 3-point shot is consistent and also smooth. He just needs to get bigger. He needs to get stronger in order to attack the cup effectively and also create his shot a bit more on his own, being able to create off of the dribble. I think if he can come back and he can prove that, he can find himself in the first round. So we'll stay tuned with Cam Christie and we'll keep you posted here as we get more results there. But I want to talk about 2 potential transfers coming into the Gophers basketball team. We're going to dive into that coming up next. First, I got to talk to you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs, because when you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for your role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs has all the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And you always know what I like to say here on the show, and that is, if it is free, it is for me. Now, LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open for the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place, because people navigate, peruse, kind of skim, kind of like a Facebook, but they do that same thing with LinkedIn, and it gives your job opportunity the chance to pop up in front of them, be the right role, and find the right hire. Now, on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours, so you can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many different hats, and they try to help you by saving you time and your resources to hire. So LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier, and they even launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making it process faster, quicker, and easier. So post about your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post about your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Gophers fans, I want to dive in and talk about 2 names that are coming to visit the Gophers, or already have this weekend and on Monday. But first, it's the Locked On NFL's mock draft live on April 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, streaming on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or over on the Amazon Fire TV channel apps. So definitely check it out, because find the ultimate 6-episode series on April 17th. 7 Eastern Time, to hear who local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from college experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL mock draft on April 17th at 7 Eastern Time, streaming live on the Locked On Sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Definitely give that a try, but let's jump in to 2 names visiting Minnesota this past weekend, or today on Monday. The first is Grant Huffman, a guard from Davidson, 6'4", kind of a do-it-all guy. I'm really intrigued by this prospect. I think he could be a great player off the bench, but would he come off the bench? That's another question. The Gophers have 2 guards coming back, Elijah Hawkins and Mike Mitchell Jr. Both of them started a vast majority of the games last season. But could Grant Huffman push Mike Mitchell Jr. to the bench, or would Grant Huffman come off of the bench? That is a question I'm sure Grant Huffman would have coming into this program, and what his role would be, because Grant Huffman seems like he's not necessarily looking for a big NIL deal, but rather looking for the right role in order to help him in his final year of college, but also with his hopes for the future, whether that be playing overseas, whether that be G League, taking a shot at the NBA, who knows? But Grant Huffman is a player that started 32 games this past year for Davidson. He also started a ton of games in his junior year for Davidson as well. He's a combo guard, so he can play the 1 or the 2. He averaged 12.8 points per game, 5.2 assists per game, and a team leading 5.1 rebounds per game as a 6'4" guard. He is an all-around player, and he led his team in rebounding, like I said. So that is something that is very intriguing, but he's not a great three-point shooter. So it definitely could limit the offensive potential in a higher major landscape. So I'm definitely curious on what his role would be, but I would love to see him join this Gophers team. But again, fifth-year guy who has 1 year of eligibility left. So it adds to the number of players that are going to be leaving after next season. You've got Dawson, you've got Parker, you've got Elijah, you've got Mike Mitchell Jr. That's 4 names right there coming back that will be gone. If you add Grant Huffman, that's 5. And this next name, Frank Mitchell, I believe he also has 1 year of eligibility left. So if you bring in both of these guys, you have 6 players that you have to replace the following season. If you get Cam Christie back, most likely he's going to the NBA after that. That's 7 of your 13 scholarship roster spots that you're looking to refill in the 2025 year. That's pretty harsh. That's pretty tough to do overall. So I am curious how Minnesota will answer that. Before we jump into those thoughts, though, Frank Mitchell is the other guy who visited on Monday. Big man from Kansas, and overall, he's 4th in the nation in rebounding. Now, he is a little bit undersized for a center, 6'8", so definitely not the tallest player as a center, but you see short centers get by with effective production in the college landscape all the time. Maybe it doesn't work in the NBA, but it definitely works in college very often. So 4th in the nation rebounding, the Gophers would absolutely welcome that. He was an all-MAC second-team player last year, and it was his first year of D1 college basketball. So 4th in the nation rebounding and also a second-team conference player in your first year of D1, definitely not a bad list to be on. Now, he's newer to the game of basketball, but he averaged 12.4 points per game, 11.7 rebounds per game, had 15 double-doubles on the season, and shot 56% from the floor. And he averaged a block per game. So this is a player who could definitely fit into that Pharrell Payne role. He could be a nice addition next to Dawson Garcia. They could complement each other a little bit, and he would have a role that has kind of already been defined in what it can look like here with the Golden Gophers. So you're not imagining how it all works out. You've already kind of seen it play out with Pharrell Payne on this team for the last 2 years. He could step into that role right away with the Gophers. And like I said, the only knock that I see on his game right now is that he's kind of shorter in stature as a big man. But turning to the big question at hand, my question becomes, where is Minnesota going to go beyond 2024? Because it seems like every transfer that we're getting deep in on, the ones that we're getting visits with, are 5th-year guys. The ones that we're getting into deep communications with are older 1 year of eligibility players, besides maybe Jamie Kaiser, who I don't know how much contact the Gophers have had with. So overall, this could have brutal repercussions for Minnesota if they can't find a core of 5 players beyond all the seniors that could leave next year. Now, you've got Isaac Asuma, who will be on the team. You've got Grayson Grove, who will be on the team. Caden Betts, who is entering his redshirt sophomore season. That's 3 guys that hopefully you have beyond 1 year of basketball. Hopefully you have them 2-3 years of playing time beyond the 2024 season. But you want to have at least 5 to have maybe half of your team, half of your potential rotation players coming back to this team to help keep that success and stability going. So you have 3, but how do you find 2 more transfers, impact players that can be long-term? They don't need to be guys that play 20 minutes in this given season, but if they can come in and contribute 15 minutes on a given night here and there, it doesn't need to be consistently, maybe 10 minutes a game or something like that, but then they can step into a major role, and that can be the selling point in the portal is, hey, come run it with a team that's potentially going to run into the tournament and have looks with this senior success, and come be the next guy to step up and have a major role in 2025. You will learn the system. You will grow. You will see what our culture is about in year 1. And then it is your role for the taking to run with it in 2025 and year 2. I think that's the selling point. And I'm hoping Minnesota can find 1 or 2 young guys to get onto this program and build with that young core and have it going that moving forward beyond these seniors, because right now no 2025 commits on the roster at this point. So the youth of this team is all built in the freshmen who are coming in Caden Betts. So it's tough swinging, tough looks for the Gophers beyond this upcoming season. There is a dim bright spot with the guys who are coming back next year, especially if Cam Christie comes back. That's a team that you absolutely think can get to the tournament, but you got to start thinking about how it works beyond that as well. But Coach Ben Johnson definitely playing for the tournament next year and hoping to keep success going and coaching well with the Gophers to keep his job. Next year is going to be a big year for the Gophers, and hopefully Cam Christie is on that as well. But lots of questions with these transfers coming in. Now, the final thing we're going to talk about today is the Gophers women's basketball team. 2 gone in the portal, 2 potentially coming in. We're going to dive into who that is and what to know about them coming up next. First, we got to talk about the latest and the greatest, and that is with our friends over at FanDuel. Now, let me tell you about our friends at FanDuel because it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and that is the best time in those sports, in my humble opinion. And it is baseball is around as well with it's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That means if you make a bet, win or lose, you're getting $150 back in bonus bets. That is a win-win in my book. And you can bet on everything from slap shots, home runs, dunks, and more on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Those are the 3 S's you definitely want in an app, and I would definitely tell you to go to fanduel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. Again, win or lose, you're getting $150 in bonus bets. So what are you waiting for? FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook of Locked On. All right. So we're talking Gophers women's basketball, and I definitely want to jump into the 2, or at least 1 addition, possibly 2 that could be coming in. Annika Stewart, she committed to the Gophers coming out of the transfer portal from Nebraska. Now, she is a Minnesota native. She has 1 year of eligibility left, but she is a big player for the Gophers, and she fits that big role, similar to Sophie Hart. And we came into this offseason talking about we need to find another player that can fill that Sophie Hart role in case of injuries, in case of needing a breather, in case of foul trouble, because the bigs that the Gophers had last season couldn't play that same role as what Sophie Hart had on the court, and you felt that impact when she wasn't there. So having Annika Stewart as a player who can step into that role, contribute big minutes if needed, and play that role to a T without giving up a ton if Sophie Hart isn't on the floor, that is huge for the Gophers. On top of that, she's played in the conference. She's coming from Nebraska, and she played alongside Ashley Markowski, who was a big, I believe she was an all-conference player, big-time player for the Nebraska team that got to the Big Ten tournament championship and made it to the NCAA tournament. So she has experience on a team that has played in those moments, but also played in the Big Ten Conference, and she could have a bigger role here with the Gophers than what she saw with Nebraska. So definitely a player I am intrigued by. I love the depth she brings to the team. Another player that is visiting Minnesota is Taylor Woodson. She transfers from Michigan. Again, Taylor Woodson is another player who is from Minnesota, so that definitely helps the ties there. But she was a freshman at Michigan last year. She has chemistry because her and Amaya Battle went to high school together and played ball together. So hopefully that could be a card in Minnesota's favor. Now, she also visited Wisconsin and Nebraska. Wisconsin also being in the WNIT last year, like the Gophers, both of them in a similar playing field, although the Gophers probably would have finished far, far better than Wisconsin in both conference games and overall record had they not had the massive injuries. So I could see how Minnesota would be more intriguing, and it's at home in front of family and friends. Nebraska, having been to the tournament, having been to the Big Ten championship game, I can see how that's enticing as well. So hopefully Minnesota has a chance on Taylor, and they have a chance to bring in another local player that has high upside and can really fit with this younger core rotation. Now, outside of those 2 players that the Gophers have looked at in the portal, one in and hopefully the other potentially coming in, the Gophers do have 2 players transferring out. Ajak Madal and Ayanna Johnson, both of them freshmen last year, both of them hitting the transfer portal. Now, both of them were young players. They had high upside, and they were both players that you could see the flashes, but they weren't quite ready to play consistent minutes night in, night out. That was very prevalent with both of those players. Now, Ajak was a player that I was really, really excited about because she's so tall and she's so long. She's 6'2". She has a huge wingspan and she plays with guard skills. So that was so intriguing to me. And you could see it in that Michigan game in the tournament where she was starting to get things going. She scored her all-time high points on the season in the Big Ten tournament on a Big Ten stage, 11 points in the game. And all of a sudden, she's hitting the transfer portal. She only had 4 games with 10 plus minutes, but she averaged 2.1 points per game, 1 rebound per game. I was hoping she could see more time in the sophomore year or junior year and really develop here with Minnesota, but it looks like she wants more immediate opportunities. And then you've got Ayanna Johnson. She played in 31 games for the Gophers. She started 6 games when Sophie Hart went down to injury, scored in double figures in 3 of those 31 games, and her season high was 19 points versus Chicago State. But you definitely saw the potential with her in the post game, in the mid-range pull-up, but there was a lot of learning mistakes as well, a lot of easy bunnies missed, a lot of foul issues at times. So she was definitely a more raw player that had the talent and could develop. But again, I don't know if it's impatience. I don't know if it's homesick. I don't know if it's NIL opportunities, which who knows? But she averaged 3.4 points per game, 1.8 rebounds per game. She no longer will be with the Gophers. So the Gophers could still use a big-time shot creator in this portal off season. They could use that type of player to help ease the burden off of Mamara Brown, off of Amaya Battle, especially in the case of injuries or foul trouble or needing a breather and letting your players not have to play 35 plus minutes a night. But if the Gophers can find that in the portal, I think you have a really nice solid core of youth, of veteran presence, of experience, of talent, of playoff experience, of size, and the different roles that they play. If you can find one more big time shot creator, I think this Gophers team is going to have a ton of upside and be a top 8 team in the Big Ten. So we saw they got another big, which should help a lot. And it's just beginning for the offseason. We'll have you covered here at Locked On Golden Gophers. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, drop them in the comments over on YouTube. Be sure to hit subscribe while you're there and hit like so other Gophers fans can find these videos. Until next time, I am leaving y'all. We're going to talk Gophers football and the noticings, the observations from the final media availability tomorrow. I'll see you then. It'll probably be a late show. Until then, row the boat, Sky, go Gophers as always, and don't forget to hit subscribe.